Yo, what's going on, guys? How you guys doing? So this video I want to make is a quick guide video for someone who is brand new to Dead by Daylight. Like, if you're somebody that just bought the game and you're not really sure what to do or what direction to take, this video is for you. Now bear with me because this video is not going to be very well edited. I'm not going to take a lot of time to edit it. I more just want to get the information out there to anybody that wants to hear it because I think it's important. So Dead by Daylight to a new player is probably really overwhelming, and rightfully so. There's a lot to this game, like a lot. And a lot of people are always asking me for advice, and honestly, it's pretty impossible to give actual gameplay advice to somebody who's brand new to the game because people learn at different paces and people struggle with different things. So it's really difficult to say exactly what to tell someone as far as what to do in game. But I think a big thing that people need to understand when they're new to the game is who to play and who to level. So if you're new to DBD, you might boot up and then see something like this. Here you have all your characters, they're all level 1, no one's leveled up, nobody has any perks or anything, and you also have a lot of DLCs that you can buy if you'd like. Or you can buy some of these in game through the store, the ones that are non-licensed. So it gives you a lot of options of who do I play, who do I buy, where do I start. And believe it or not, this is actually very important. And the reason why this is important is because of Teachable Perks. If you guys don't know what Teachable Perks are unique perks that each killer has that normally are only available to them. However, if you reach a certain level with the killer and unlock it in the blood web, these perks actually become available on every other killer. You can also find these in the shrine. If you go to the store and in the Shrine of Secrets, you can find them there as well. Every week they put 4 random perks into this shrine that you could also buy, but generally speaking, this is a pretty unreliable way to get them because there's no way to know what's going to be in the shrine. So the best way to do it would be just to level up the person that has the perks if you're interested in using them on other killers. So by default, there's actually only 12 perks in the game as killer, for instance, that you can use that aren't teachable. So any killer that I play right now would have their 3 unique perks plus 12 more perks that are automatically in the perk pool. That's only 15 perks total out of the literal 72 perks that exist for killer. And to be quite honest, a lot of the non-teachable perks aren't even the strongest of perks. They're usually on the weaker side. So when you're new and you're starting out, I think it's very vitally important that you invest your blood points into people that are going to make it worthwhile in the future. So that way you unlock the perks that you need to do well and also help you grind and get more blood points. So when you're first starting out, I think it's very important that you invest your blood points wisely into the right characters so that going forward you have a strong set of perks that can help you be successful and get even more blood points and help you level up even faster. We'll actually start out here by talking about Survivor because I think Survivor is a lot easier because most of the people that you want to level up are non-DLC. All the free characters are the ones that have the best perks, especially for a starter. And in my opinion, I think that if you're a new player, you should absolutely be investing your points in David King. David King has a perk called We're Gonna Live Forever, where at tier 3, you can get up to 4 stacks and each stack gives you 25% stackable bonus to all blood points gained at the end of a match. You get these stacks by getting unhooks or taking protection hits or basically just playing altruistically. So what this means is if you get this perk and run it on your characters, basically you have the potential to get double blood points every single game. This literally makes it so you unlock everything else in the future twice as fast. I don't think I really need to say how invaluable it is to unlock everything else going forward twice as fast, but it's very strong. On top of that, he also has Dead Hard, which is one of the strongest perks in the game. However, as a new player, you may not really know how to use it to its very best potential, but regardless, it's still a very good perk to have unlocked. And it definitely does not hurt to get it. Although No Mither is a perk that you can just completely avoid as a new player. This is known as one of the worst perks in the game, so you can feel free to completely ignore this. However, these first 2 perks are very valuable to you, especially as a new player. Moving right along, though, we would go straight to Claudette. Claudette, I think, is the second survivor that you would want to level. She has a very important perk as a new survivor, which is self-care. Self-care is a perk that has a lot of controversy around it because a lot of people use self-care in a way that's not good. Basically what self-care does is it makes it so that whenever you're injured, instead of having to seek out a teammate and have them heal you, you can just heal yourself at any time, but you do it at 50% speed. Now keep in mind, this is still the exact same time investment. Having one survivor stop to heal you for 16 seconds or self-caring yourself for 32 seconds Either way, that's either 2 survivors taking 16 seconds out of their time to heal or 1 survivor taking 32. The exact same time investment is still there. So even though it feels like you're going super slow, you're actually not losing any time overall as a team. This perk is so good as a new survivor player. You will find that when you're new to the game, yourself as well as everyone around you is probably going to be terrified, absolutely terrified. And sometimes when you're injured, getting healed up is really hard. Like you can't find your teammates because you don't have any good perks that help you find them. And even when you do find them, a lot of times they're going to be terrified and not willing to heal you, or they're going to be too scared and hiding, and you won't be able to find them at all. So the ability to actually get away from the killer and then just heal yourself back to full on your own terms is very, very, very valuable. I will give a fair warning, however, though, that it is very, very important that you keep in mind what's going on with your team around you, because the big thing that makes people not like this perk is a lot of new players will get into the habit of self-carrying themselves no matter what else is going on in the game. Like if you're injured and you have like 2 teammates on hooks across the map and your 3rd teammate's being chased, you need to go unhook those people. If you're sitting across the map self-carrying while your team all around you is dying on hooks, then you're literally being the worst teammate ever. So it's very, very important to be self-conscious of your team and be conscious of the time that it takes to self-care. You only want to be self-caring whenever you're able to do it without being a detriment to your team. But this is definitely very important to get, and I would honestly not even be opposed to leveling up Claudette before David King. This perk is just very, very good as a new survivor. If you wanted to get this before the perk for David King, I would not be entirely opposed, but I think the double blood points is a little bit more valuable, so I would say to go after this second. On top of this, her other perks aren't too bad either. Botany Knowledge is actually a pretty good perk. You can combine it with self-care to make the self-care faster, or you can just heal your teammates faster, which is, you know, pretty okay. Empathy is not a great perk, but it does give you some information, and it couldn't hurt to run, especially early on whenever you don't have very many other good perks. So overall, Claudette's just a very good survivor to go after. After you're done with Claudette, though, I would recommend going right over to the homie Meg Thomas. Meg Thomas has a lot of good perks, and I know a lot of people recommend leveling up Meg first. They literally recommend going after Meg first before anyone else. And while I do think her perks are very, very good, she probably has the best overall teachable perks in the game. I don't think her perks are worth more to a new player than David and Claudette's. So just having a look, she has Quick and Quiet, Sprint Burst, and Adrenaline. These are all very, very valuable. Sprint Burst is one of the easiest to use perks, and also one of the strongest perks easily in the game. The ability to at any point just burst in speed and run across the map and make a lot of distance on a killer is something that will add value to you no matter where you are. Whether you're a good player, whether you're a new player, no matter who you are, this perk will add some value. Adrenaline is also a perk that is usually revered as one of the top tier perks. Although I do think this perk is more valuable to you if you're better at the game. I think this perk is something that is more rewarding if you are already good in chase and you can lead the killer on long chases, because then you can get the effects of it mid-chase. So as a new player, Adrenaline isn't going to be that big of a deal to you. I wouldn't stress about it too much, but as you get better at the game, this perk will have a lot more value. And Quick and Quiet is just another perk that it's just a nice perk. You can combine it with a lot of things like Head On and other things, or even just to be stealthy. You can do rushed vault actions quietly, and you can mind game killers a lot with it. I just think her overall perk set, she adds a lot of good value, and you get a lot of good teachables from her. And the last survivor I'll have you guys level up, the last one that I'll direct you towards, is my boy Bill. My boy Billiam. Bill probably has the most bailout set of perks in the game, I think. His perks are basically all about bailouts and second chances, which are something that is kind of controversial in the game, but they are undoubtedly strong. For instance, Unbreakable is, in my opinion, easily one of the strongest survivor perks in the game. Basically, if the killer leaves you on the ground and doesn't pick you up to hook you, first off, you recover faster, 25% faster, and once per match, you can just pick yourself up without the need of your teammates helping you, which is something that you normally can't do. You normally need your teammates to come and pick you up, but with this perk, you can do it once per game. You could just pick yourself up, which doesn't seem like a lot, but there are a lot of situations where all 4 survivors are downed and the game is theoretically over until someone uses this perk, gets up, heals their teammates, and then bam, the survivor team is right back in it. This perk is very, very strong. Right along in the same vein as Borrowed Time, this perk is also very, very strong. This perk makes it so that when you unhook a survivor within the terror radius of the killer, they have a 15-second endurance state, which means if they get hit or are going to be put into the dying state, they instead go into deep wounds, which is basically like an extra health state that they have to mend out of. And it essentially punishes camping killers. Like if you're unhooking somebody in front of a killer or near a killer, they can essentially take another hit before going down for the next 15 seconds, which does a lot for either battling camping or making plays in the end game. Overall, perks like this that help with the unhook scenario are very, very valuable because especially at low ranks, you'll definitely find that a lot of killers will fall back on the strategy of just camping hooks. And this is probably the single best way to counterplay it is with a perk like Borrowed Time. Left Behind is his last perk, and this one's not quite as important as the other one, so I won't talk about it much. This one is basically, if you're the last survivor alive, it makes it easier to find Hatch, which is still cool, and it still fits in with the whole bailout situation, although I don't think this one is extremely strong. It's definitely not as strong as the others. And that's pretty much all for the advice for leveling up survivors. I think you can basically just do like a like counterclockwise circle in the middle here. The cool thing about this is that all 4 of these survivors are free. They all just come with the purchase of the game, and you don't have to purchase any DLCs or anything. They just are there when you buy the game. So you can definitely level them up, get their teachable perks, and then with those perks, you can definitely make a lot of builds, and you can have a lot of strong builds that can carry you up until the point where you start wanting to branch out and trying to level up other people. And FYI, you can click on any survivor's name and then hit F1. And you can get a little thing that pops up that shows what their teachables are. I don't know what button does this on consoles. I know on PC it's F1. And you can see what their teachables are. You can read about them and then decide whether you want to get them or not. You can even do this for DLC characters where you can click on them and it'll take you to the store page, and you can see their teachables here as well. I also want to say real quick that when it comes to the DLC characters, you can buy a lot of the DLC characters with iridescent shards, which are basically like a currency that's just earned through playtime. Auric cells are something that you have to buy with real money, but iridescent shards are something that you just get with playtime, and some of these characters you can get just by playtime. The only ones that you have to buy with real money are the ones that are licensed. Anything that comes from like a movie or a game, such as Ash Williams or Detective Tapp or Steve and Nancy from Stranger Things, anything that comes like directly from a movie or some kind of a license must be bought with Auric cells. They cannot be bought with shards. It has to be Auric cells. However, if you go to a survivor that is original, that isn't from a movie, someone like Yui, you can buy this with shards. 9,000 shards, you can just buy it. So you don't need to spend money. You can grind for it. All right, let's move on to killers. So killers where it gets a little bit less good, because I think that the important killers that you want to level up and the most important perks are actually on DLC killers, which really sucks, to be honest with you. It sucks that I'm going to recommend you spend money to get perks that are going to be important, but I really do think it's worth it if you find this game to be fun or something that you're interested in. I think the single most important perk in the game overall, not even for killer and survivor, I think is the perk from the Cannibal, from Bubba, barbecue and chili. This perk right here, barbecue and chili, is basically the equivalent for killer as We're Gonna Live Forever. That gives you double blood points. Now, you will have to buy Bubba, which is something around like $5, or I think you can buy his DLC for like $4. I'm not really sure. It should be like $4 or $5 to buy this character. And unfortunately, I hate telling people to buy a character, but this perk will make a massive difference in the amount of blood points that you earn and how quickly you can level people up. It's so much easier to get the double blood points from this perk than it is as a survivor. You can almost guarantee getting all 4 stacks every game as killer as long as you can play decently well, whereas survivor, you can't always guarantee 4 stacks, and sometimes you won't get the full double blood points. His other teachables are okay as well, although they're nothing to freak out about. Franklin's demise is basically just an anti-item perk. When you smack a survivor, it makes them drop the item. It's a neat perk, and it's not weak, but it's not extremely strong either. Knockout is another perk that isn't great, but it's also not bad. It's not anything that you should be going after right away, but barbecue and chili is the real breadwinner here, and this is definitely what you want to get as quickly as you can. After leveling up Bubba and getting barbecue and chili, I think the next best bet, unfortunately, again, is another DLC character. I'll go ahead and give 2 suggestions here, because I think if you don't want to spend a bunch of money on DLC or you don't want to buy characters, that's also understandable too. If that is something that you are able to do or interested in doing, I think the next best killer to get would be Plague. Plague has a lot of good perks, a lot of good perks. And a lot of people find this controversial, but I 100% think that she has the best overall teachable perks on any killer in the game. Corrupt Intervention is an absolutely amazing perk that can be used on any killer. Literally any killer in the game can use this perk and use it well. It's basically just helping out killers in the early game by blocking 3 generators, and it lasts for 2 minutes at tier 3. This is just a universally good perk. It doesn't matter what killer you run it on, it's always going to be strong. Infectious Fright is another really good perk that you can use that gives you a ton of information. On a lot of the killers that are very strong, this is a very good snowbally perk that could really help you get multiple downs quickly and help you win games very quick. And it's definitely a good perk to unlock and just get available onto your killers as you get better. Her worst perk is Dark Devotion, which even Dark Devotion is a really neat perk. This is a kind of complicated perk. Basically, if you hit the Obsession with a basic M1 attack, they get your terror radius, which is like the sound that you make whenever you're near a survivor, like the heartbeat and like the music that a survivor hears whenever a killer's nearby. The survivor actually gets that, and it travels with them, and you lose it yourself for 20 seconds. So you basically become stealthy, and the survivor that you hit sounds like a killer whenever he's nearby his teammates. It's a really interesting perk, and it can be used for a lot of interesting misdirection, and even it's very strong. Like, this is a very strong perk. This is probably the weakest among all the perks, but even this one is very strong. However, if you're someone that's not trying to buy DLC, whether you can't afford it or whether you just don't want to invest money into a game that you are new to, which is completely understandable, I think the second killer that you can go with would be Hillbilly. Hillbilly doesn't have that many good teachable perks. As a matter of fact, I think he only has 1 perk that you want to go after. However, this 1 perk I think will really teach you good habits in the game, and that is Enduring. Enduring is an amazing perk. At tier 3, it basically cuts down the stuns from pallets by half, which doesn't seem like much. At first glance or at first hearing it, it doesn't seem like much. Like, oh, pallets do a little bit less, big deal. But a very big mistake that you'll find that killers make early on is being too afraid of being stunned by pallets. They're way too afraid of pallets, and they'll sometimes back up away from them, and survivors will take advantage and punish it. This is something that happens with every single player that's new to killer, and I think it's really important to break that habit, and I think Enduring is one of the easiest ways to train you to not really care about pallets so much. Beyond that, the other 2 teachables are not very good. Lightborn basically just completely makes flashlights irrelevant. And Tinker is like a weird stealth perk that kicks in when a gen's about to finish, but it's not really that useful at all. I wouldn't really recommend running either of these. You can slap on Lightborn if you don't feel like dealing with flashlights, but flashlights have counterplay themselves. You guys can even go check out my video on flashlights where I talk about it if you'd like. So I wouldn't recommend any of these other perks, but Enduring itself is worth going after, on top of Hillbilly just being one of the strongest and most fun characters in the game. If not Billy, I could also recommend Trapper too. Trapper is definitely a very simple killer in the way that he's played, which is another thing that I probably should have said. Most of these killers that I'm recommending are simple, aside from Plague. Both Leatherface, Hillbilly, and Trapper are relatively simple in the way that they play, and they're relatively easy to understand, which I think is good as a new player. And Trapper fits right into that as well. His perks are pretty strong as well. He has Brutal Strength, which helps him kick pallets faster, which is just an overall good buff. Like, there's really nothing bad about that. This saves you a lot of time in chase, and it can be pretty useful. Agitation makes it so that you carry people faster whenever you're carrying them to the hook, which saves you some time because it's honestly a very big time investment to pick someone up and carry them to the hook, and this just gets it done that much faster, on top of the fact that you can get them to further away hooks if you want to carry someone to the basement. Unnerving Presence is probably his weakest perk, although even this one, when combined with other perks, can be used in some pretty interesting builds, so it's good to have it unlocked, although it's not going to be that useful to you as a new player. And those are the 4 that I would recommend in that order. It would be 100% starting out with the Cannibal, and then if possible going to Plague, but if not, Billy or Trapper or both. It doesn't really matter the order. I would go Billy and then Trapper, but it's entirely up to you. Those are definitely the important ones to go after. I do want to say that I think it's very important to not play either Wraith, Nurse, or Huntress. I think that Wraith is a very simple killer, and I think as a new player, it might feel good to play him, but his perks are terrible. They're so bad. And I don't think it's a good idea to go after him. As a matter of fact, I would say that his perks are literally bad as a new player because they make tracking really easy and it will make you reliant on them. If you're running Predator and Bloodhound all the time to track people, then you won't be able to track without Predator and Bloodhound. I won't go into detail on what they do. I'm just sharing my thoughts. I would not recommend Wraith as a new player. I would avoid him if possible. And I think Nurse and Huntress are also two of the more complex killers. Huntress isn't entirely complex. Like what she does is pretty straightforward. She just throws hatchets, but she's very difficult to play. And as a new player, she plays so much differently from every other killer that if you get into playing Huntress early on, it's going to make it really hard to learn every other killer that plays without a projectile weapon. Nurse is just on her own level entirely. She literally blinks through walls and is like playing Nurse is like playing an entirely different video game from every other killer on the roster. So playing her early, first off, is going to be hard because she's incredibly hard to play, and second off, it's not really going to teach you anything as far as any other killer. Like no skills from Nurse are going to transfer to any other killer. She's basically in a league of her own. So yeah, those are my recommendations, guys. Make sure that you guys are spending blood points towards characters that are going to be worthwhile investing in. Don't be wasting them into characters that are going to give you perks that aren't going to help you or perks that aren't going to be useful. You definitely want to make sure you invest and unlock perks that are good so that any future character that you play has good perks to play around with. I'm actually going to start doing some videos soon where I do gameplays of games with killers using only their perks plus the non-teachable perks to give you guys that are new some, like, you know, builds that you can maybe try out or see like how the game is played without perks, because I know that most videos you find on YouTube are, you know, wacky combinations of perk builds from people that have every single perk unlocked. So I want to show some builds that you can make with like a very minimal amount of teachables to maybe no teachables at all. So I'm going to be working on that in the future, so keep an eye out for those videos. And also, if you're looking for more actual in-game like the advice on what to actually do in game, I have a bunch of tutorials on my page. I'm going to be releasing even more, although there is a lot to it. I would recommend that if you're brand new to the game, you take maybe like 50 to 100 hours to just kind of get the feel for the game. I wouldn't stress too much about being good or bad. I would just kind of feel out the game and see like generally how it plays before I start worrying about being good or bad. But once you're ready to start learning, I have a whole playlist of tutorial videos that you guys can check out, and I would highly recommend looking into them. I hope this video taught you something. I hope it could at least direct you in the right way. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to leave it a like and all that stuff if you guys want as well. And I am out of here. Thank you guys for watching. I'm out. See ya. Take care. See ya. I'm out of here. See ya. I'll see you later. See ya.